Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great. And yourself?
Really good. Good news, scientists have found a way of stopping beans from causing gas. A short burst of gamma radiation before soaking the beans does a trick. That sounds like a bad idea.
That sounds like a very bad idea.
Hulk beans. I don't know. I'd rather just have gas.
I'd rather just not eat beans.
There you go. Coming up on the program today, two guests. Not one, two guests. We've got a gentleman, Eric Stang. He is the CEO of a company called Ooma. And we're going to chat with him about the 911 service. And it's kind of concerning to me the way this works. I guess a lot of people are having issues. Like if you call 911 from a cell phone, and if you don't know the address, this all happened like when Prince passed away. When they called in, they didn't know what his address was. They're like, well, we're at Prince's house. We're like, what's the address?
Yeah.
So this guy is going to be talking a little bit about some of the things their company's doing for those precautions. And then I got another guest today, too, which is unusual. Usually one guest is enough, but we're also going to be talking with Charlie Griffin from Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks. It premieres tonight on National Geographic. We'll chat with him in a bit as well. Thanks for listening.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Thought you'd never ask. It's Monday, July the 25th. Today is Carousel Day and Merry-Go-Round Day. Those go hand in hand as they spin around. It is also Thread the Needle Day. It is Video Games Day, and it is Red Shoe Day.
There you go.
Lots of stuff going on today. Get out there and celebrate. And I know there are other things other than the ones that I share on here, but I try to get all of them. So if there's something else special happening today that we're missing out on, well, celebrate that as well, however you might. Coming up, we got some great fun stories and two guests today, which is really unusual because usually we just have one. So
it
is. Going to be chatting. They're not at the same time. Going to be chatting with one at a regular time and one towards the end of the program. So a lot of fun stuff on a Monday. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Whether you're an experienced shooter or someone new to self-defense, Front Sight Firearms Training Institute has a course for you. You may recognize Front Sight from their reality TV show filmed at this private range 45 minutes west of Las Vegas. A Diamond Lifetime membership is $15,000, but we have a special price of just $3,000 available now only at radiosavings.com. This lifetime membership allows you to take over 50 courses as often as you'd like at Front Sight Firearms Training Institute. Get this deal right now at radiosavings.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Geraldo Gonzalez is very depressed right now. Taxes are getting the best of him, even more so than the rest of us. The IRS says poor Mr. Gonzalez owes the government $16,000 in back taxes. But the IRS loses a little credibility on this one because they say that he was working in 12 cities at the same time.
Yeah, I think someone might have his number.
However, has not stopped them from withholding $3,000 from his paychecks to pay his tax bill.
That is not right.
According to Mr. Gonzalez, he worked supposedly simultaneously in Arkansas, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina, Indiana, Nebraska, Iowa, Maryland, and Tennessee.
Wow.
After much explaining, the IRS and the Social Security Administration and the FBI are now finally convinced, believe it or not, that he wasn't working in all those states at the same time. Really? Did it take a meeting to figure that one out? They've concluded that other people might be using his Social Security number. Wow.
Maybe.
They've canceled the debt. They're going to return his money.
With interest, I would hope, because they would be charging him interest if it was the other way around.
He says that he's not so sure the matter is over. He says, knowing our government, and I don't blame him, he says, just in case the IRS returns, he sold his car because he does not want the government to repossess it. So,
wow,
that
how
was
sad is that?
And that way you can say, hey, I don't have a car. How in the world would I have gotten to 12 different states to do
Right.
That is ridiculous. But you know what? Here's the thing. They just have a computer that tells them, according to this computer system, this number did this. So they're just following their system. It's just a silly system, that's all. But, for the most part, it probably makes sense almost all the time, other than in a situation like this. So there you go. Somebody stole his identity. I was telling Heidi we need to sign up for one of those identity theft protection things so nobody steals our identity. She said if anybody stole our identity, they would proball give it back to us.
Yeah, they would.
And the company
they would pay us to take it back.
The company that we're trying to sign up with would be like, seriously, you want to protect this? All I know is it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain. and this is your Brain on Drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your Brain on Drugs. A homemade license plate leads police to a very dumb criminal. Mitchell Rowelson of Seaverville, Florida, was arrested in Seminole County. The sheriff's deputy there picked him up on his 16th drunk driving charge.
Oh my gosh.
As well as driving on a permanently revoked license and other charges. What first drew their attention, it was not his erratic driving, but the fact that his license plate on his van was on a piece of paper and it was hand-drawn. That ought to do. So he had no driver's license, he had no license plates, he had no common sense, and he was pulled over for his 16th drunk driving charge.
That is insane.
I think when you get to 16, they should just say, you know what, you're going to just spend a lot of time now behind bars, and you're not going to
You
be
shouldn't
out
even
there.
get to 16.
No. Now, I tell you what, if you want to go out and drink, do what we do in our family. Heidi likes to drink. I'm the designated driver. That's really important to me. You lost 2 cousins because they were killed by a drunk driver. That's a bad thing. So don't do that. If you're going to be going out and having fun, make sure you're somewhat responsible. Either have a designated driver or get a ride. But 16 drunk driving charges. Wow. That's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
This is our moment of duh, and this one goes out to somebody at the water park at Wayne County's Family Water Park in Detroit. They called the police on a topless female swimmer. Ooh, sounds interesting, right? Till you find out that she was 3. The girl's mother, Carmia Sorrell, was told by park security guards that topless female toddlers are inappropriate at the pool. Fortunately, the police had some sort of common sense. An officer from the 5th Precinct was called in. He assessed the situation, then told the park manager that Carmia was doing nothing wrong. The park then apologized to her and said, oh, okay, well, you can go back to swimming then. So they called the police because her 3-year-old was topless.
Okay, I don't believe the police should have been involved, but I
No.
do think as a mother, or as a parent, period, you should be teaching your daughter
Yep.
modesty at a very early age.
But at that point, you certainly don't need to call the police.
No, absolutely not.
So,
but
I think
the
that
mother should be wanting her daughter
Yeah,
covered.
I agree. That
Because
escalated
even though
quickly.
she looks just like the boys on top, she's still a girl,
She
and
won't
she
forever,
should
yeah.
still be covered.
Yeah, there you go.
I never let my little girl run around without
I
a
hear
top
you.
on.
You don't even let me run around with my top on.
Well, to be fair, you're more well endowed than most females. So
Then again, I'm quite overweight, and I wouldn't want to go run around topless. Coming up, we got your scoop of the day. That is on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your scoop of the day. The UFO and Paranormal College has opened in Russia in response to a rash of unexplained crop circles in the region. The faculty says they are qualified to teach the course because they have video footage featuring the type of UFOs being called Belgian triangles, which they say are frequent visitors to their city. So, there you go.
there you go.
10 years ago this happened, but it's just such an interesting story. In Rutland, Vermont, a woman was spotted leaving a Kmart with a bag of goods that she didn't pay for. So they tried to, 3 different employees tried to catch her. While she took off running, she jumped a guardrail and darted into the woods where she got stuck in a swamp. You just wait here. We'll go get the...
Where was that?
That happened in Rutland, Vermont. I just think that's funny. Don't think of Vermont and swamps very much.
Not usually. No.
Angry Birds. Okay, before there was Pokemon Go, before there was Flappy Bird, before there was even Candy Crush, people were obsessed with Angry Birds. And the maker of the game announced the Mighty League update in their original Angry Birds. The update introduces challenge levels to players, which ask them to compete against level scorers by other players. So you compete against each other, I guess, from this one. So, I don't know. I've never really gotten into that. I played Angry Birds back when it first came out, and I was like, okay, I have work to do. I'm going to go back to work. A 58-year-old man in China woke up with amnesia. This is crazy. Family members were in shock after the corporate executive couldn't remember conversations from just minutes before. He kept repeating questions like, where am I going today? And what do I do? Relatives called doctors who said the man suffered from stress-induced amnesia and a bout of strenuous constipation as well, or strenuous. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. 58-year-old man from China woke up with amnesia. Just boom, there it was. Fans of the original MacGyver. Did you like MacGyver back in the 80s?
Not really. That one wasn't one of my favorite shows.
Oh,
I
always
watched
liked that.
it. I remember watching it, but
Well, CBS has a reboot coming this fall, and guess who is potentially going to be on that program?
who?
The original MacGyver. Richard
Really?
Dean Anderson is in talks to appear on the new series of the familiar reboot. It is time to pass the mixed carrots, or maybe the pear zucchini, corn, whatever. Fremont, Michigan is celebrating their 25th annual Baby Food Festival.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, I just read on here now, this was last week. It was Wednesday, it ended on Saturday, so we missed it. The town of 4,000 is home to Gerber Baby Foods, and they're welcoming thousands of people. Well, they welcomed them last week for their baby food eating contest. I would do that. I
Yeah.
actually like baby food.
I think our son would do that. I was
yeah.
over at his house the other day, and his roommate has a baby, and he was getting the baby food out for the baby. He goes, "Hey, Troy, tropical fruit's your favorite." Troy's like, "I love that stuff."
In addition to the baby food eating contest, they also have a baby crawl race. I don't know if that's for babies or adults. But either way. Police were called to a party in Germany. This is in Bendorf, Germany, after a 50th birthday celebration got a little too loud. But here's where things get really interesting. When the police arrived, the women went wild because they thought they were the strippers. Several attempts to explain to 10 extremely drunk women that we are not the strippers, we are the police, were completely unsuccessful. So they tried to explain it to them, and the ladies were trying to tuck
That's
dollar
awesome.
bills in their real holster. They're like, "Would you? No, I'm not a stripper. I'm not taking this off. No." So they had way too much. Is there any moment of the day when our cell phones are not within reach? Apparently not, because of an online address book site called Plaxo found that 19% of us have dropped our cell phones down the toilet. Ew, that's not good.
I've never dropped my phone in the toilet.
If that's not bad, T-Mobile survey discovered 59% of us would not hesitate to take the plunge and grab the phone.
I'd grab it.
Right there in the toilet. Yeah, I don't know if I guess I would have to, but
You'd have to.
I don't know how I would do it because that sounds yucky. All I know is we've got a couple of guests coming up. We've got Eric Stang from the company Ooma. Going to be chatting with him in a moment. And then later in the program, we have Captain Charlie Griffin from Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks. That's all on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This has been quite an election so far, and we've got a long ways to go. Stay informed at politicalstorm.com. It's a cool site with political news and information on the campaigns, plus a place to chime in and have a say in what you think. If you're into politics, you need to check out politicalstorm.com. Get informed from several different sources all in one place. Listen to podcasts like mine and learn about current election topics, read fun editorials, and engage your brain. It's your country. It's your vote. It's your voice. Politicalstorm.com. That's politicalstorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. We got a special guest joining us right now. We're going to be visiting with Eric Stang. He's the CEO of Ooma. Eric, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
We wanted to visit with Eric today about the 911 service. A lot of people in the past, they would always call from their telephone at home, and it would call their local 911. Well, nowadays, people carry a phone in their pocket. Many homes don't even have a phone screwed to the wall at home anymore. It can be a bit of a problem, though, if you're calling 911 from a cell phone. It doesn't tell you where you're calling from, and that's a concern.
Oh, it's a huge problem. When people call 911 from a cell phone, more often than not, they run into two big problems. One is when they call, the party they're calling doesn't know where they're calling from. And then secondly, often the calls don't go to your local response location. They go someplace farther away. In Prince's case, that happened, and they couldn't determine where they were calling from.
With the technology that we have today, that's why this is happening. In the past, everybody had a regular telephone that was screwed to the wall, and when you'd call, it was the local telephone number that would go to the local 911. But now with cell phones and VoIP and all of the different technology out there, there are some concerns because it doesn't always work that way. And now with the program that you guys have with Ooma, now it does go to your local 911. Is that correct?
That's right. Ooma is a internet-based phone service that gives you great voice quality, but also, real 911. When you call 911 on Ooma, it goes to your local response location, and they know where you're calling from. So, for instance, if someone's calling on your behalf, doesn't know the address of your home or something like that, you don't need to worry. You'll still get fast response. The FCC actually has estimated that if response times for 911 were 1 minute faster, it would save 10,000 lives in the United States.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It is, and with people have the misconception, I think, that their cell phone is going to give them fast 911 response, but it really, in most cases, is not. It takes a landline-type 911 solution like Ooma to provide that real service.
And now there are a lot of people that are thinking, well, if I'm calling 911, I know my address. This isn't a big deal. That's great if it's you that's calling 911, but imagine for a second if maybe you are out at the movies and you hire a babysitter. Does your babysitter know your address? You'd want to make sure that they do, especially if they're going to be calling from a cell phone, because if they don't, that could be a problem. And hopefully they'll never have to call it. But, in the situation where just recently, like we were talking earlier, when Prince passed away, the people that called in, they were guests. They didn't know the address. And that 911 tape is kind of scary when you listen to it, isn't it?
It's very scary. You can hear the 911 operator asking, over and over, what's the address? And the caller was saying, maybe we can find some mail. They were rummaging for something with the address on it, and that's just time going by that is, needed for fast response. It's 911 is a very important tool for us to maintain. On average, families call 911 once every 10 years.
And if you've never had to call 911, consider yourself pretty fortunate. I know there have been times in our life where we've had a fire one time. And again, it's a thing that we take for granted, the fact that it's there, and we shouldn't. We should be very thankful for the people who answer those calls and the people who respond to those calls. But you want to make sure that when you're calling in, you can give them the information that they need, or even better, it automatically pops up on their screen so they know where they're going and how to get there.
Absolutely. I live out in Silicon Valley, and 80% of cell phone calls don't know where you're calling from. And for me personally, with my Ooma in my home, it goes about 1.5 miles away to my local police station. But when I call on my cell phone, it goes about 15 miles away to the county location for cell phones. And once I called it, and I waited 15 minutes for them to answer the call because they were busy.
Wow.
So, having real landline 911 with Ooma, it's just a risk. It's not a risk you should take to not have that.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Ooma for people that are not familiar with this. How long has Ooma been around?
Ooma's been around over 10 years. We're a New York Stock Exchange listed company. We provide free home phone service throughout the United States. Just pay a small amount in applicable taxes and fees. We offer more beyond that, but the extra things we offer are optional. People don't have to spend more if they don't want. We're rated the #1 home phone service in America by a leading consumer research publication, and we have hundreds of thousands of users across the United States on Ooma. We also offer a small business solution for small businesses.
If maybe somebody listening is saying, hey, that sounds like something that would be good for me, how do they go about signing up for this?
They can visit Ooma.com, that's OOMA.com, or they can find us at Best Buy, Amazon, Costco.com, Walmart, Target. We're pretty widely available across most electronic stores.
Very nice. And I recognized almost all of those, and I bet a lot of the listeners did too. So if it's something you're looking for, you can probably find it at somewhere right in your community even.
We hope so. We would love to have you as a customer. I can tell you our customers love our service. We get great referrals word of mouth. In fact, it's the #1 way in which people find out about us, and we're very thankful that our customers take the time to let others know what we can do for them.
And it's pretty darn affordable. What is the average monthly amount for just a consumer that has your, maybe not a business, but a consumer that has your service?
It varies by your state and local location, but generally it's a few dollars a month. It's for peace of mind on 911, if nothing else, it's a very small amount to pay. And then, obviously to have free nationwide calling, something for the babysitter to use, something for the kids to use, a separate home phone number so you don't have to give your cell phone number out everywhere. There's a lot of great reasons to get Ooma.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, Eric, and thank you for doing what you guys are doing. And I love the fact that it matters to your company, the safety of my family and everybody listening, their family as well, to make sure when they do pick up that line and dial 911 that it goes to their local 911 operator. Thanks for thinking of that, and thanks for doing it, and also thank you for helping us spread the word about it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Again, Eric Stang, CEO of Ooma, and that's spelled Ooma. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We appreciate you joining us.
John and Heidi.
Do you buy lottery tickets? Maybe you wait till the jackpot is big, then you buy one. I was like that too. Like my odds get better because the jackpot was more. Well, I think I found something that actually will give me a better chance to win. It's called Lotto-licious. I learned about this from Richard Lustig. He literally wrote the book on how to win the lottery, and he should know. He's a 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Richard plays and endorses Lotto-licious, and I just signed up too. I'd love it if you join Richard and I. You can play Powerball and Mega Millions without even going to the store. Sign up right now at radiolottopool.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Welsh mercenary bowmen in the medieval period only wore one shoe at a time. I'm not exactly sure why you would do that, but that's
I don't
how they
know.
would do it. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Charles de Gaulle's final words were, "It hurts." Ugh. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
There are 4 cars and 11 light posts on the back of the U.S. $10 bill. You have to count them up and see.
Okay.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Whiteout was invented by the mother of Mike Nesmith
I
of the
knew
Monkees.
this.
I knew that too. And Naugahide, plastic leather, was created in Naugatuck, Connecticut. That's why they call it Naugahide.
Okay.
The largest landowner in England is the Queen. We just talked about the fact that she owns all the swans.
She owns all the swans.
Followed by the Church of England and then Trinity College, Cambridge. Those are the people that own the most land. And the final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
This little white part, I'm holding my fingernail up like you guys are going to know, but the part closest to your finger, this little tiny
moon.
area,
The
the white
half
part,
moon?
yeah, kind of the, what'd you say?
The half moon?
Yeah, it's like a half moon. You know what it's called?
Luna
Luna
something.
Lunula. Lunula?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it is maybe something to do with moon. Anyway, there you go. A couple of fun facts for you. I'm going to just pretend like I pronounced that right. Move right on. Thanks for listening on a Monday.
We are professionals.
Yes.
Whether you're an experienced shooter or someone new to self-defense, Front Sight Firearms Training Institute has a course for you. You may recognize Front Sight from their reality TV show filmed at this private range 45 minutes west of Las Vegas. A diamond lifetime membership is $15,000, but we have a special price of just $3,000 available now only at radiosavings.com. This lifetime membership allows you to take over 50 courses as often as you'd like at Front Sight Firearms Training Institute. Get this deal right now at radiosavings.com.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Techno manners for parents from Family Circle. Kids learn how to behave or not how to behave from their adults. Here are 5 ways to set good examples. And I got to tell you, I really think if we were maybe a little better role models for our kids, we'd have a much better generation growing up right now. But I think that a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, these kids that are
Agreed.
doing the dumb things they're doing, is because mom and dad didn't teach them right from wrong. So they say silence is golden. You want to teach your kids how to not talk on their phone at a restaurant? Well, maybe you
Don't
should
do it
not
yourself.
talk. It says turn your phone off in restaurants, museums, movie theaters, public bathrooms.
Agreed.
And if you must be on call, maybe you're waiting to hear about a job or whatever, use the vibrate feature and take the call in private. But teach the children the right way and set a good example, because if you think it's okay, then they're going to think it's okay.
Right. I agree with that.
Be discreet. Steer clear of inappropriate conversations, both on cell phones and in person and in email and at work. It says, see you at 8, or please take the roast out of the freezer, are within the bounds of good taste. Arguing with your spouse is not. So they're saying if you're going to have a conversation, if it's a conversation, again, see you at 8 is fine, or take the roast out of the freezer is fine, but everything else, they're saying that is inappropriate. Next, be polite, Heidi. Don't say anything in a phone message that you would not normally say to a person in person.
Why did you address me?
Because I remember you sending a text to somebody last week, and then that person called, and I got to answer the call. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. Hello, this is Heidi's phone.
I didn't start it.
I understand. Send your regrets. Always use regular mail for condolence cards or letters. You don't even need to type. You do a handwritten note.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And then the final thing, no multitasking. Don't answer email or check your voice messages or stock portfolio while you're chatting with kids or watching their soccer match or school play. If you're doing that kind of stuff, you're teaching them that it's okay. So there you go. couple of fun things right there, again, on how to make sure that we teach the kids to do the right stuff. This next generation really matters. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Hey, this is Tim from Hope and Faith Machine Works. Are you having one of these days?
How in the world am I going to do that?
Or even,
if I could just have this, my life would be so much easier.
Well, this kind of stuff is my specialty. At Hope and Faith Machine Works, we work with anyone who needs something built, fabricated, or just done right. We've done medical, industrial, PLC, and prototype designs. You can reach us at yourhopeourfaith.com. That's yourhopeourfaith.com.
The movie Passion of the Christ is a movie that I did not watch for like the first 5 years that it was out because I was told that it was very graphic.
And even when we did watch it, I couldn't watch it all. I left.
Well, Mel Gibson is preparing a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. The original film, for those of you that watched it, ended with Jesus walking out of the tomb, but it did not go on to show what happened after his resurrection. The sequel will focus on the resurrection and the events that occurred after Jesus was raised from the dead. Braveheart screenwriter Randall Wallace will work with Gibson on a sequel. He said the Passion is the beginning, but there's so much more to the story. And I've got a link to this story at our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. I'm reading reading some stuff on my Facebook page. People crack me up. Got a friend that locks his keys in the car quite often by accident. He's been doing this now for quite a while. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave a coat hanger in the trunk so I can unlock the car next time this happens.
How are you going to get in your trunk?
Yeah, that's kind of what I said. I was like, how are you going to get into the trunk if your keys are locked inside? Wouldn't you need a key to get into the trunk? Kind of makes you wonder how that guy makes it through life. And here's the thing. If you're going to do anything, why keep a coat hanger in the trunk? Why not a spare
an extra
key?
set of keys?
If you can get into your trunk enough.
Yeah.
And even better yet, why not just quit locking your keys in the car, period? That'd be even better. So there you go. Coming up, we have Captain Charlie Griffin from Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks. It premieres tonight on the National Geographic Channel, and he's been on the last couple of seasons. This is season 3 that's coming out, so we're gonna find out a little more about what they're gonna be doing on season 3 and get some info from Captain Charlie Griffin on the way.
John and Heidi.
This has been quite an election so far, and we've got a long ways to go. Stay informed at politicalstorm.com. It's a cool site with political news and information on the campaigns, plus a place to chime in and have a say in what you think. If you're into politics, you need to check out politicalstorm.com. Get informed from several different sources all in one place. Listen to podcasts like mine and learn about current election topics, read fun editorials, and engage your brain. It's your country. It's your vote. It's your voice. Politicalstorm.com. That's politicalstorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. I don't usually have a guest at this time, but I do right now. I've got Captain Charlie Griffin. He's with Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks on the National Geographic Channel, and their Season 3 premieres tonight. We're going to chat with him a bit here. Captain Griffin, how are you, sir?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well, and we got a really good connection, so I'm assuming you're probably not out on the boat right now, are you?
No, sir. I'm on land. I do have a phone on my boat, but no. I was in between trips, so this is going to work out good for me.
Very cool. Now, Season 3 of Wicked Tuna Outer Banks premieres tonight. I know this is your second season of being on the program, but what is it like when you're doing this, because you've been a fisherman a long time, when they add all the cameras and they bring these people, does that make your job a little bit more difficult, I suppose?
Well, it probably makes our job a little tougher because, you're being, there's just, there's cameras everywhere, but it's just such a, it's such an exciting fishery, that once the fishing gets going and once we start catching fish, it's really kind of out of sight, out of mind because we're focused on what we're doing. But it's just incredible to have a fish that can be 400, 500, 600 pounds. It's just a big old fish, and those things explode. Getting after the bait, and it's just really exciting fishing. So hopefully the people enjoy watching it as much as we enjoy doing it.
Wicked Tuna Outer Banks is filmed on location in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Now, is that where you're originally from, Captain Griffin?
No, sir. I am from here. Unfortunately, when we're doing our show, when the fish are here, it's in the winter, and it's during the very worst of our weather. We have to deal with a lot of bad weather. It's front after front, and we only have a short window of opportunity to go fishing. So, unfortunately, it's extremely rough and windy and cold, and the guys, when they do the North Show, it's in the summertime and the weather's a lot milder, a lot nicer. Here we have to bundle up, put our head down, and go to work. And there's a lot of days we'd rather not get out of bed, but we only have a few days, for our season, so we try to make the best of what we have to work with.
And I know the Outer Banks is an area that's a wonderful tourist area during the summertime, but I'm watching the Season 3 video premiere, the little video that's online, and the waters are rough, everything's kind of flying all over the place. It doesn't look like a fun place to visit. It looks pretty scary, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's to me, that's what makes the whole thing interesting. It's not for the faint of heart, and there's a lot of days we'd rather not be in the ocean, but when you're only given a short window of opportunity and a short window of weather, we try to make the best of what we have. But it is some extremely tough conditions. It's not, like I said, it's not a lot of boats doing it, and there's a reason for that. It's a pretty tricky area. It's a tough area to work. In the winter, it makes everything harder. So we do the best we can, but it's rough. It's really rough.
Again, visiting with Captain Charlie Griffin from Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks. What can people expect if they tune in to watch Season 3? I know it premieres tonight on the National Geographic Channel. What can people expect this season?
Oh, my gosh. I think they're going to see a lot of really good fishing. I think they'll see some exciting strikes, some epic struggles. It should be really good. I mean, we had some really, really good fishing, and we also had some really rough conditions. I know that there was, several days that, boats got in situations, whether it was crossing the bar. My first year I actually hit the bridge due to some shoaling and some changes in our area. Marciano hit the bridge as well. Luckily enough, one really good thing that's come of the show is the Corps of Engineers have done an incredible job keeping our inlet open. But having said that, we're still going through, and it's blowing and rough, and it should be good. It should be really good. Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for doing what you do, because while you guys are out there catching those fish, you're feeding people. But by allowing the cameras to come along and film for Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks, you're also entertaining people as well. So thanks for doing that. People are loving this.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, it's fun doing it. So hopefully people can see what we do, in order to go out and catch these fish. Sometimes it's tricky. Some days are better than others naturally, but it is. It's a lot of fun doing the show, and hopefully people enjoy it.
Again, our guest today is Captain Charlie Griffin from the boat Reels of Fortune, one of the many folks you'll see on the TV program Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks, and Season 3 premieres tonight on the National Geographic Channel. Captain Griffin, thank you again for taking some time to chat with us. You have a great day.
All right, thanks, man.
And thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
And we always try to wrap things up around here with some good news. And I think this is pretty good news. Every morning before the sun goes up, Durga Kami brushes his teeth, puts on his uniform, and walks over an hour to get to school.
Oh, wow.
Now, his routine is not too different from many other 10th graders in Nepal, except for one thing. Durga is 68, one of the country's oldest students. He's a father of 6, a grandfather of 8. He says he was forced out of school by poverty when he was a child. As a kid, he never fulfilled his dream of teaching. Following the death of his wife, though, and to avoid a lonely life at home, he decided, I'm going to go back to school. Kami first went to a primary school to learn how to read and write. Then he got a scholarship to attend the Shri Kala Bagari Higher School of Education. So I'm sure I said all of that right.
That's
I think
really
that it's
neat.
really neat that, he's 68 years young. It's never too late to follow your dreams. So he's saying,
Never.
you know what? I'm gonna do this. I've got the time now.
Right.
I don't want to just sit home and do nothing. We watched a movie, The Intern, and in the movie, Robert De Niro was a retired man. He had lost his wife, and he was retired and was just, didn't want to just sit home and do nothing. And he became an intern at a really high-tech company. And it was such a neat movie. And I think we've talked about it on this program before. That's a movie I'd like to get.
Okay.
Because it was such a neat movie in the fact that he brought so much to the table. When he first showed up, they were kind of going, oh, you don't need to bring a suitcase to work. And it was like, well, it's a briefcase. And they were picking on him because he was wearing a tie. We're casual here. You don't have to do that. He's like, well, I want to be professional, and this is how a professional dresses. He learned a lot from the young people, but the young people learned so much from him as well.
Yeah.
And I just thought
It really was a good movie.
It was such a great movie. And it's called The Intern, I think, isn't it?
I think so.
I think
Something
that's what it
like
was.
that, yeah.
But, that's a scenario similar to this one. This one's actually a guy, 68 years old, going back to school to learn all kinds of stuff that he hadn't learned. So really, really neat. I've got a link to the story at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening on a Monday.